Oh, this is a cool sign. If you guys can read that. Possible unexploded ordnance. Stay on marked trail. Do not touch suspect items. Report any suspect item to the following number. Danger. Oh well, gentlemen, I think we'll take the plunge. Right here is the creek. Nice and wide, pretty deep. That's going to be perfect for fly fishing today. A couple hundred yards up here, there's a little spot where you can slip into the creek. It's a little tricky because it's a bit steep, but I found it was better than hiking through bush and, you know, potentially puncturing my waders. So I'm just with the creek off to my left here. You can't really see it through the brush, but it's over there. In this trail and looking for an ideal spot just to slip in. Although I am, as I say, going to the spot I'm familiar with, but we'll see. Oh, there's a deer. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if I got that. A whitetail just ran across the path to my right. He's probably spooked though. That was cool. He's right in front of me. I don't know if you can see him, but he's right there, tip of my rod. You can see him, but he's right there, tip of my rod.
Actually, no, look, he's a, oh wow, look, he's a buck.
There he goes. He's a buck. It's a buck. That is really cool. That's a way to start your morning. Here's the creek. Here's the access to it. Now, like I said, it's a little bit steep here. In fact, I might have, yeah, this is where I went down. This is where I went down. It's very steep. So chances are I am going to fall on my ass big time here. First task today was not to fall down. Accomplished. All right, here we go. Oh wow, wow. It is so high. It's so high. Wow, I don't even know if I can slip in there. So just to give you some context, this creek is actually stocked with trout from the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. They changed their name recently. So it used to be the VDGIF and now it's something else, like Virginia Wildlife and Game. But they do stock this creek. Now, just as a passerby, which lets us know he's there, but they do stock it. At what point along the creek they stock it though, I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. Could be miles away for all I know, because this creek is, I think it's like 30 miles long. But look at this. Look at all this rain that we had. Look what it did. It's raised the creek bed by, or the water level by a couple of feet at least, 2 or 3 feet. I've got this little, I'm tying on this little nymph. Little bluegill nymph. I don't know if you can see that. It's very pretty. Very delicate. Very hard to see. It's hard to see from me and I'm 3 inches away. Alright. I'm just going to work my way actually back towards the bridge. Just kind of casting towards that far bank and just letting the current drift it along the bottom. There. It's about 7:30 in the morning. on a cold Sunday morning, overcast. Possible chance of a little bit of rain later in the morning. And I am just making my way down this creek, seeing if I can find any bluegill or maybe something a little bit bigger. So, a little belatedly, but we just got a little dry fly. Because if you're just gonna throw something upstream and let it drift, then that's probably what you need to have. I've also convinced myself at this point that there are trout in here, based upon no evidence whatsoever, but I'm convincing myself that they're here, and so therefore I want to try and target them. This is actually a pretty nice spot for a spinning rod. And so of course now I've just done to the dry fly, and now I'm thinking this spot here is perfect for a nymph. It's the term Guggen. Oh, there was a take. There was a take. That was a beautiful take. That was a beautiful take. What is that? Did I lose him? No, I still got him. Still got him. That was a beautiful take. For a little bluegill, that was a beautiful take. On a dry fly, of all things. Just as I was saying there. Just as I was saying. That I thought maybe the nymph was the answer here. We have our first customer of the day. A beautiful little sunfish, bluegill. Redbreast maybe. Alright buddy, there you go. Be free. And now I understand why everyone talks about dry flies like that, because that was really fun. It was fun watching that disappear below the surface. As you can see from my my old videos, like I took up fly fishing fairly recently, within the last 2 years. Not taking it too seriously, I've got to admit. Been very much of the casual fly fisherman. It's been fun. I mean, I started out with an 8-weight initially because I was targeting bass, but then I made the correct call to invest in a 5-weight. I've had this Leland now for probably close to 2 years. It's the, if you're curious, it's the aptly named Leland Starter Trout combo or outfit. Some starter something anyway. I think it says on the side. Yeah, Starter Trout. There you go. I think I just took another take too. Oh no, had a bite. I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, this Leland is their, I guess their budget model, the Starter Trout outfit, rod and reel combo. So I got it about 2 years ago because I had a initially I had a 8-weight Redington. It just was a bit too heavy for what I was trying to do, and so I was looking obviously at Orvis and Redington and other manufacturers, and I kind of settled for Leland because I wanted to support a smaller rod and reel manufacturer. I felt like Orvis, frankly didn't need my business. And I've been into Orvis, and they're great. Their customer service is really good, and the guys know what they're doing, and I would recommend going in there. But at the time, I was trying to support a small business or smaller business, and Leland kind of had a really good sales pitch on their YouTube channel. I guess one of their sales reps or one of their managers has sort of a tutorial video on this particular combo and how to cast it, and I was quite satisfied with how he pitched it. He did a really good job. If he's if he's listening, you did. But their price point was good and the presentation was good, and I thought, oh, you know what, $200, I'll just take a swing, and if it doesn't work out, I'll just go to one of the big box stores like Orvis, or I don't know, go to Cabela's and just buy something from there. And 2 years later, I'd say this. I am happy with this rod. I do like this rod, and I do not regret buying this rod. The only snag with this rod and reel, and the reel, by the way, is fine. I do wish it had a drag system on it. I think most modern fly reels now have some kind of drag, especially on 5-weights. I don't see why you can't put one on there. I mean, I know like Lamson has a really good reel, the Lamson Liquid, which is sort of a bit of a benchmark really for sort of a sub $100 reel, because I think it just hovers just under at $99.99. But you know, that's a 5-weight, or can be bought in a 5-weight, and it has a, you know, one of the best drag systems you can buy. So I just think not having a drag system at this point is a bit, it's old school definitely, but I just think there's no reason not to. The line is great, weight forward line, very easy to cast. I'm a beginner. I'm, as you've probably seen in this video, not the best caster of the fly rod. Still very much a novice, very much learning. Could probably use a class actually. I do find it fairly easy. I did struggle a bit on the 8-weight, but with the 5-weight, I just find the flex of the rod really does help. And it's not tiring like the 8-weight was. The 8-weight was actually quite tiring to cast with because the rod is so light. But I added a caveat in respect to I have nothing to compare this to, right? So depending on how I title this video, you're likely here because you're interested in buying the Leland outfit, and you're, you know, looking for a video of some guy doing exactly what I'm doing, right? Casting it, talking about it, telling you whether or not you should buy it. I would say go for it, as I say, but please bear in mind, this is the only 5-weight I've ever owned. And so it is a huge caveat to say that I have nothing to compare this to. And because I have nothing to compare it to, I don't have an Orvis Clearwater, I don't have a Redington Path in this size, you know, some of the other $200, $250 outfits, then, you know, just take it with a grain of salt. I think you should buy this reel and rod if you want to, but I can't tell you from experience that it's vastly superior. I know earlier I said I don't think you can do any better, but I do stress that word. I think that you can't do any better than this, but I could be wrong. And also a huge thing that has to be mentioned, and I bring this up because, you know, I made a personal choice to support a smaller business, okay? Like, I know I could have gone into the Orvis store down the street, and I know I could have got a Clearwater and been probably very content. I decided to support a smaller business that manufactures, oh, that was a take. I thought that was a take, and I just wasn't paying attention. I decided to support a small business. I believe Leland are headquartered in California, but they do have some kind of operation in Idaho, I believe. And I know that because I've called them twice. So they're a, you know, American-run, hopefully American-made rod and reel manufacturer. So I wanted to support them, and figured Orvis didn't need my money because they've got plenty of customers. And yeah, so that's the direction I went. But, you know, there's a downside to that. And the downside is this. Leland is a small company, Orvis is a huge company. Orvis, even with COVID and the circumstances surrounding it, is unlikely to go anywhere anytime soon. In fact, actually, business, I would think, is booming for them now because so many people are fishing again. And so they're not likely to go anywhere. And so if your rod ever breaks, if you decided to buy an Orvis rod, if your rod decided to break or broke, or your reel, chances are you're always going to have a store to go to. It's like one of my friends said once, about a year ago. He said that Orvis is like the Nike of fly fishing. And so they're going to be around for a long time. And so you do have to kind of take that into some consideration, because Leland is a small company, and I think whilst they're doing well for themselves, they are a small business, and like all small businesses, there's huge risks. They could be here today, gone tomorrow. And so if you've got a $200, $300, $400, $500 rod that breaks, and then that company's not there anymore, then guess what? You're out of $500. Now, I am saying all that having had my rod repaired twice. This rod is pretty delicate, I think. Again, don't have much to compare it to, but I think it's pretty delicate. has actually broken on me twice. Now, once, the first time was entirely my fault, and I want to make that very, very clear. It was my fault, not the rod's fault, not Leland's fault, my fault. Essentially what happened is I dropped my rod in between two rocks that were basically boulders. I sort of really had to reach, and I could only just get, I would say, the first 1/3 of the rod in my hand. Now, instead of walking around the rocks and probably just coming at it from a different angle, I was being lazy. And I decided just to grab that first third of the rod, and I tried to lift it. Oh no! Broke my rod. Well, it broke. It snapped, which was pretty devastating. And so that was the first time it broke. The second time it broke is, I don't know, a mixture maybe of me, maybe the rod. My part of it, I was probably lifting the rod vertically while a fish was on the end, and so that was adding stress to the tip of the rod. So that's my fault. The problem I have kind of with the rod is that the fish that was on the line was a bluegill that was a couple of ounces. You know, if that had been a 1 pound, 2 pound bass, I would have chalked it up as, again, it's completely my fault. But as it wasn't, as it was a bluegill, I do think the rod maybe has some blame. And so, yeah, those are some of my experiences with the rod, right? It's broken on me twice. One of those, definitely not the rod's fault. One of those, let's say maybe the rod's fault. Now let's talk about how Leland rectified it, because, you know, this video is turning into a bit of a review for Leland. And so, again, I want to just tell you everything I know to help you make an informed decision. I called Leland on both occasions. Both times I broke the rods. The guy was super pleasant. The first time was pre-COVID, second time post-COVID. Didn't ask me any probing questions. You know, he wasn't like, oh, how did you break it? He just was like, oh, okay, what section of the rod's broke? I gave him the number. I was like, oh, this one. And then he was like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. We can send that to you. It's just going to be $50. And he was like, yeah, we'll just ship that out today and it'll be with you in like a week. And on both occasions, it was exactly that. He shipped it out same day. Was with me within a week. Put the new tip on, or the new section, and I was good to go. Oh, that. See, I'm getting so many takes, but they're just too small. They're just too small. Definitely, they definitely like the dry fly though. But they're just maybe a little too small. The one that took it must have been just big enough to get his mouth around it. I'm getting so many takes on this fly, and I'm just not doing the hook set right at all. There we go. Finally. Jesus Christ. Sorry. Again, tiny, tiny little bluegill. Beautiful. Just took it right off the surface. Right off the surface. Let's see if he just spasms and jumps in. Nope. All right, go. Usually they like jerk a little bit and they'll just jump straight back in the moment you release any tension, but that guy just wanted to hang out in my palm a little bit, which is totally fine. There we go. Oh, he's gonna probably get off, but beautiful little fish. I know they're tiny. I know they're tiny, fellas. There's nothing to shout home about, but I do enjoy catching sunfish. And these look like they're not red breasts, they're green sunfish. Not bluegill either. They look like green sunfish to me. Correct me in the comments. Beautiful, beautiful little guy. Alright fella, you go back. Ah, so many takes. So many takes. So many sunfish. So many sunfish. I was supposed to go actually. I was supposed to leave. But you know how it is. You know how it is, fellas. You're like, yeah, I've got to leave. I've got responsibilities. I've got kids, you know, kids. The moment that fish takes that bait and misses, you're like, oh, if I just throw it out again, he'll be right back. And it'll just be 2 more minutes. And then it's 10, 15, 20. And your kids are like, Dad, where are you? Dad, I miss you. Your wife doesn't give a shit, of course. She's just happy that you're not there. Oh, that was a big one. That was a nice one. Woo-hoo-hoo. That was a nice one. That was a nice fish. Oh, tiny. Probably the smallest one of the day. Probably the smallest one of the day. He hit like a tank, though. Fair play to him. Fair play to him. He hit like a tank. Tiny. I mean, they're tiny. This is the definition of a panfish, right? All right, bud. There you go. All right, gentlemen, I might call that a day because that's a good way to end it. Who am I kidding? Let's do one cast. Let's do one, and I promise this is the last one. I promise. Let me get it exactly where I want it, and that means I get to cast it a minimum of 3 times. 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, that's fine. All right, that's fine. That's not bad. Let it sit there for a minute. See what happens. It'll get like, there'll be a little guy swimming up in a second. There you go. All right. Oh, all the same size. This is a bluegill? It's hard to tell. Trying to be careful there. That's probably the last one for the day. Oh, there he goes. All right. Let's head out. That's been a good day today. That's just, I mean, 4 little sunfish. I take as much as I'm given. And today has been a nice day.